Here we go with Caesar, chapter 62 of book 1 of the Civil War. Quare. So, which matter, per explorers, ruis scouts, cognita, something female was known, it would be this female here was known. So the matter or the circumstances were known, and sumo labor, with the maximum or great labour, militum of the soldiers. Caesar's the one doing the knowing. Caesar knew this. Continuo diem noctemque. So continuing day and night, or in continuing. This is the dative ablative, so it looks ablative. And here's opere in the third declension, showing it's truly a dative, not a dative, so it's truly the ablative. So in continuing this work day and night, we have the gerund taking it here. In the averting, or by averting, the course of the river in Flumine, Huck Yam Rem deduxerit. So he now led the Rem, the circumstances, Yam's probably soon, so he soon led the matter to Huck this point, that, the equites, these are the cavalry, people on horses, etsi, although it was a difficulter, it's an adverb, and agri, another word meaning difficult, fiabat to be being done, so could scarcely be done, you might want to say, difficultly and hard to do, or scarcely able to do it. Possent, they were able to, Tarman nevertheless. Atqui, so just call that also or something. We have ordere, which means they're dead, so both possent and to dare take the infinitive. So they were able to transire the Flumen, they were able to cross over this river. They were able to and they dared to. The Pedites, these are the foot people, the infantry. Vero, take that as a but conjunction. But the Pedites, tantomodo, usually only means merely or only. Humerus and sumo pector, so with the top of their chest and the shoulders only, tantomodo, only extarenting, standing out from the top of the water, and cum, the altitude. Usually we talk about mountains and things with altitude, but they have alta, it means high and low. So this would be the altitude of the water, the depth of the water, we might want to say. Tum etiam, and then even by the rapidate fluminus, that's the rapid moving or the speed fluminus of the river, this impeded them in their act of ad transiundum. It impeded them in the crossing of this flumen, this river. Sed tamen, these are two negative words meaning but. So we might say but however or but yet. Iadem ferre tempore, that ferre means almost, so almost around the same time. A pons, which is a bridge, in the Hibero, that's the, what was it, the Elbe, whatever we call that in English. Ebro, okay. So the bridge on the Ebro was nuntiabated, announced that it was prope effectus, it was almost built, almost done, and in the Sicorai, this is the other river, reperiabator, it was discovered that discovered mightn't be the right word, but avardum, they'd made the shallows by diverting the water, so there's a place that they could cross over. 63, so Yam, now, Vero, but or moreover, Eo Magus Ili, so here's Ili, these are the people, these would be the enemy group, they maturandum iter existum abat, so they were thinking that they should maturandum the iter, so make more haste on their journey, all the more, Eo Magus, so much more. It's a bit like adio, it just means all the more reason why they should make their journey in more maturandum, with more haste. Itaque, and so, duobus auxiliaribus cohortibus, so two auxiliary cohorts at Ilerda, relictus, so this picks up in this plural ablative. So, having left, or with two auxiliary cohorts left as a presidio, that's as a garrison or a protection here at Ilerda, omnibus copis, with all these copia, with all these forces, transient, they crossed over the Sicorum, that river, and cum dual-bus legions, and with the 2 legions, quas, which had Traduxeranted, which had crossed over in the superior bus Debus in the preceding days, the earlier days, they conjungated. Jungo means to join, cons means together, so they joined castras, they joined camps. Relinquabator, so it was left, Caesar to Caesar in the dative, nihil, nothing. So nothing was left to Caesar, nisi, except utai. Except that he would use, is that utai the deponent or utai or ut? Capra, okay, we've got imperfect subjunctives here. So that he would, nothing was left except that he would use his equitatu, that's the ablative form of his column of his knights, and Agman's the Agman of his adversaries. So what is he going to do? He's going to habaret them badly and carperet. So he's going to pick at them and do hostile things. Male means badly or cause trouble to the Agman, which is the column of his adversaries. So nothing was left to Caesar except that he would use his knights to pick at and harass the column of his adversaries. Okay, so I've set up the Daily Dictionary word of habio, one of the most common words, but part 8 of feelings and problems, I affect trouble someone. So he affects trouble, or he troubles someone with their problems. So that's what he's doing there. So he's carperating and haberating, troubling the enemy. So where were we? Enim 4, pons ipsius, for his own bridge. Caesar's talking about himself here as the ipsius. So for Caesar's bridge, Hababat had a magnum circutum. This is a big, great circular course, or a long distance of travelling. So that ut, with a molto brevio itinerary, with a much shorter route or journey, Eli, again, he uses for his enemies, they would be able, taking the infinitive, to reach, and pervenire takes the ad or in a lot of the times, so he'd reach the Hyberum in a much briefer travelling. For his own bridge, which took a great course to get there. Equites, the cavalry, missi, again plural, sent abio by him. So the cavalry, having been sent by Caesar, had transeunted the Flumen. They crossed over the river, and cum de tertia vigilia, when about the 3rd vigil, the 3rd watch, that's about midnight, they have watches at night, Petrius and Afrianos, they movicented their castra, they moved camp, they had left. Repente, the adverb, suddenly, say themselves, ostendut, they showed themselves to the novissimum Agman. Agman being a neuter, I'm guessing. Novissimum's the superlative, means the most newest, so the newest thing is the last, so that's the rear of their column, their Agman. And a magnum multitude, with a great multitude, circumfusa, means they've spread out around them. Why is there an infinitive? Because of the incipient. They began to delay and to impede the ita. Incipient means begin, it takes the infinitive. 64. Prima luce. At first light, ex superioribus locus, from the higher ground. Superioribus with time means in earlier times, and with places it means higher. Which castris Caesaris erant conjuncta. Okay, so from the higher places which were joined to the camps of Caesar, Cernabato, it could be seen or discerned that nostri, the equitatis nostri, so this is our horsemen, the horsemen of us, prolio in the battle, vehemently premi novissimus illorum. So we saw the novissimus of them means their rear guard, or the last of them. They were being premi, they were being pressed vehemently. And nunquam means sometimes, sustinere the extremum agmen. So sometimes the extremum, again, it's like the end, like we saw here with novissimus, the end of their columns being sustained or holding up the battle, and interrupti, so they're being broken up a little bit. And here we go, so non numquam means sometimes, and then alias here at another time, they infero the signa. infero means going forward, so they took the standards forwards. So they're in attack now, the other guys. And universum cohortium impetu nostris. Now all of the universal, a lot of our cohorts were being propelled. So we're being repelled by the impetu, which is the attack, the force, and then rursus, and then again it conversus, the battle turned, and then insec, where they were following. So from this high ground you could see these guys getting attacked, then they fight back, bring their standards and attack, and then again the battle turns and the enemies are being followed again. Totus viro castris, so viro's but the whole camp, or in the whole camp, the milites, the soldiers, circulare, they came together in a little circle, a little group, and dolere, they were grieving that the hostam, which is the enemies, dimitai, were being lost or slipped out of ex manibus, from their hands, and the bellum, the war, non necessarily ducae longius, the war would not necessarily be ducti or prolonged, much longius, comparative, much longer. Centurions and tribunusque. With this centurions, you couldn't tell if it was nominative or accusative, but the tribunos shows that it's accusative. So the militum, the soldiery, adire, went up to the centurions and the tribunes, and obsecrare, they were beseeching them, ut that per eos, through these centurions and tribunes, fieret curtio, Caesar should be fieret certio. This is a way of saying you should be informed. It's a strange thing, but that's what Latin does. And nay, not parceret. So they should not spare suo. They should not spare them in their labour. This is taking the dative. Nor, N-E-U, means nor pericule. They shouldn't spare them the labour or the danger. So they're obviously eager to go. Paratos esse. So they were prepared themselves, posse, they were able, and ordere, and they dared, transire flumen. And so they were prepared to, they were able, and they were daring to cross the river, qua, see that means where, the equitatus, where the cavalry had traductus ascended. So now the soldiery are eager to get over to across the river where the equitus had, where the knights and cavalry had. Quorum of them, studio. So in the zeal of them, and exercitus Caesar. So Caesar was excited or moved by the studium, the zeal of them and their voices, their vocabuses, etc. And though Timobat he was fearing, tanta magnitudi fluminus exercitum, here's what's going on, the army, so he was fearing that he should subject his army to obicere, taking the dative, so he should cast his army upon the magnitude of such a river. So the magnitude must mean the river was very big and powerful, and he was fearing putting his army in this river. But conandum, a trying, tama, nevertheless, and an experiendum, and a testing, judicat. So he judged, judicat. So he judged it should be tried, nevertheless, and tested. Okay, so you recognise the gerunds. And so, itaque, the infirmio milites, this is the weaker or injured soldiers, from omnibus centuries, from all the centuries, this group of 100 men, he ubited delegi. He ordered to be chosen or rounded up the infirmer soldiers, quorum of which aut animus, either their courage or vires or their strength, vidabanta, they seemed non posse sustinere. So vidabanta is taking the infinitive of posse, and posse is taking the infinitive of sustinere. So the people who it seemed like their heart nor their strength would not be able to sustain this crossing, they were picked apart. Hos, these are the infirmia, the weaker soldiers, with una legion, with one legion, he reliquid, he left as a presidio castris, as the guard or the garrison for the camp. The reliquas legions, the remaining legions, these are the fit men and the eager to go, actually, legiones expeditus. So the unencumbered remaining legions he educated. So he led them out, qui, and a magno numerum, and a great number, genitive, of the Humantorums, and a great number of the pack animals in the flumine, in the river, supra and infra, above and below. A great number of these beasts were constituted or set up or established there, and he traduced, led across his army. I guess by putting these pack animals above and below, it was like a pathway. Okay, Porcae. So a few ex his militibus from these soldiers were abrepti. They were snatched away, by the force, fluminus, of the river, and they were excipionted, they were received or picked up, ab equitate, by the cavalry, and subliviantur, and helped. Interit tam and Nemo, so nevertheless, Nemo, no one interit, no one died. Traductu in columni exercitu, so the army having been traducted across, or led across in columni, safe, he instructed his copies, he drew up his forces, triplicem quiacium, and the triple lines, that's three formations, and he incipited to Ducere. Again, incipio has taken the infinitive, he began to lead them in three lines. Almost done. Ac tantum fuit, and such was, in militibus, in the soldiers, this tantum studi, and such a studiousness, such zeal and enthusiasm, it was in the soldiers, ut that, millium sex, addito ad ito, that 6 miles were added to the journey in this circuit, in this detour. Magna qui ad vardum fluminus mora interposa. So interposed on these, or placed on these, was a mora, a delay. And it was a magna delay, a great delay to the vardum fluminus, to the ford of the river. But qui, those who, de tertia vigila existent, those who had left in the third vigil, which we saw earlier was midnight, they consequented them, they caught up to them, ante aurum die, 1, 2, 3, 4, so before the 9th hour of the day, so that's midday, and that's it for the day.